Hello, thanks for joining us. My name is Johan, and we are from K2 talking about EverSeal products. Sorry, I got some screen stuff going on. There we go. Hopefully you can see my screen there. This is a live webinar. Everybody is muted. So if you have questions, please do type them in. We have a lot of people signing in from the installer side, distribution side. So welcome to the webinar. Thanks for having us. We're picking these webinars back up. We took a little break. Seemed like everybody was a little zoomed out and, too much screen time with the pandemic. And also we're happy to be opening up our webinar series again. And we've been doing a lot of technical training with our K2 Pro partnership program that we've released, and working with installers more closely on training their crews on roofing and products. So this presentation is going to cover the EverSeal product line, which is new to our products on comp shingle and tile roofs for the most part right now, as it makes its way into other products. So I'm going to jump right in. See if we can get there we go. So again, my name is Johan Alfson. I'm the director of training for K2. I've been doing technical training for almost 15 years now. Worked with Nick Pack for many years in the past at our past company. And he was in sales for many years and understands products so well that he actually just jumped to the position of product development product owner. So he's working on product development. He understands the sales side, the engineering side, and the installation side as well. As he's been on many jobs. So he'll jump on a little bit today, showing some products. I'm actually traveling right now, so I don't normally have kind of a little roofing setup and show products if you can see my camera, but Nick will jump in here and show some products. He's got the sample kits showing these product lines. And he'll also do the presentation at the end, talking about Base, which is our design tool. And it's very helpful when you're designing a system and you're trying to decide between these mounting systems of which one to use, which one has the better spans, which one has deck attach, rafter attach, and you get the best engineering for your area. So I see some chats coming in. I'll wait till the end and we'll save some time. There's a lot of stuff to go over here. We'll talk quickly about introductions, go over Crossrail as a brief overview. Then we'll talk a little bit about the history of mounting systems as it pertains to this, what we call non-metal flashing and self-sealing mounting systems, like our EverSeal product line for comp and tile. And then we'll get into the base demonstration, as I mentioned, and it's helpful for you guys to decide on products. So real quick, if you're wondering, the K2 name that came in about a year and a half or so ago, we've always been K2. It was started in Europe. In Germany is where our company was founded. And since 2004, it grew out to many different markets in Italy, France, the UK, and eventually out into the US. But we didn't have the name rights to K2 at the time, but it did become available about 2 years ago. And so we went with the same name because we were called Everest for many years. So if you see that name Everest, we transitioned to K2, but we've always been K2. So it wasn't that we were acquired. We were the same company. Nothing's changed. Just the branding's all the same now worldwide, which is great because we have 10 locations and we're growing very fast. And having that international presence is really cool because we get to see what kind of installations are done all over the world. And we see the different roofing types, we see the different mounting types, and we can adapt our mounting systems to take some of that ingenuity and bring it to the US and Mexico market. So we are K2 now. We're headquartered in the US in Oceanside, California, and our team's growing quite a bit. We're actually hiring for the training department, which I manage with Drew. So Drew just came on recently, and he's our technical trainer in the East, but we're covering the entire United States, him and I, and I'm actually hiring for building a team. So we'll have technical trainers to cover the entire US so that we can get out on jobs, understand what difficulties you're having, with installations and how our products can help. Or if it's your first time doing a project with K2, then we will be there for support as best we can. We also do a lot of digital training. We're developing all kinds of content, and we support our sales team as well on the technical side. So both Drew and I have some extensive installation background and our tech support for your team if you need it. So definitely lean on us, whether you're from the distribution side or the install side. You can lean on us. Our inside sales team is very helpful as well, working with our distributors, working with customers to find product and where it's in stock, or helping with base designs like our online tool, which Nick will demonstrate here at the end. Our outside sales team has grown quite a bit. So we have regional sales managers in all the different parts of the US. So we've covered the Northwest, Southwest, Northeast, and we've also got, folks in Colorado, Florida. So we've grown quite a bit. So if you want to meet the team, you can actually go to our website, click on find a K2 rep under contact, and you can see everyone's contact information based in your area. So if you're on the distribution side or install side and you're in these areas and you haven't met your rep yet, definitely reach out to them. They want to meet everyone that's in their market. So definitely lean on that support, because we've been hiring quite a bit, growing quite a bit, and we're making sure that you have somebody to call and find out more about these products, because we're developing products every day. So we're working on new products and we're releasing a lot of new stuff coming up in the next quarter. So definitely get on our email list and see what's coming up. So as far as Crossrail, we have different rail profiles, and the number pertains to the size of the rail. So we have 44, which is our most popular. We came out with that a couple years ago. It's our lightest rail in weight, but it's not a light rail where it's limited to not be installed in areas of like high snow and whatnot. So it is being installed in the Northeast where there is snow, but if it's really high wind speeds and really dense snow loads, then you might want to jump up to the 48X. And then 48 XL is just a beefier version of the 48. And then 80 is our rail that's used more for ground mounts and things like that. So system components and system types are the next slides here. The dual rail, shared rail, mini rail, tilt up, ground mount, and even parts of the D-Dome all share. These are different ways of how you can install the Crossrail. Aside from D-Dome and mini rail, which are more railless products, the tilt up, ground mount, and dual rail are the most popular, and those all share the same components. So if you're going to be doing ground mount or a tilt up system or a flush attached system or even a shared rail system, if you get into that, that's a little bit more advanced. They all share the same components. So if you're ordering mids and ends, hidden end clamps, they all can be installed onto the Crossrail platform, and they're all compatible, even on the mini rail as well. So you've got the mids, our mid clamps, our end clamps, and then there's a standard end clamp, and there's a hidden end clamp, which is called our Yeti. I just put some part numbers up there if you're wondering about it. These slides will be available if you're wondering about this. And then we have wire management, which we have the top channel wire clip, which is TC wire clip that allows you to keep the wire in the rail channel. So there's a good example of like an end phase there where you're jumping out of the rail, but you want to keep it taut so it doesn't get in the way. Sorry, Dakota, I don't know if you're still on, but I got some message that maybe everything's still good? Because I just
we hear and see you fine.
Okay, cool. Sorry. I got a little message from Go2 that said that the webinar was not working. Okay. I think we're good. I think it's just Nick signing on. Yep, there's Nick. Okay, so we're just talking about wire management stuff. Nick's with us now. So wire management clips, you've got TC wire clip that keeps the wires jumping in and out and transitioning inside the rail. A huge benefit of our system is that wires can be managed inside the rail. The other thing that we've been teaching in our training is that you can use the hardware, and going back to the hardware there, the microinverter and optimizer mounting kit, that secures the optimizer or microinverter into the rail. But if you look at that picture there, what we're doing is we're running the wire underneath that hardware. And so that allows you to use the actual hardware to secure the wires in the rail channel. We did a whole video series on this, and we'll post that soon. And then taking the connections, a lot of installers like to have it on the outside so that it's not submerged inside the rail channel, maybe getting hot, maybe being buried under water if the rail's not tilted or have any weep holes in it. You can connect them on the outside and use these side clips like the Hay clip or the Omega to make that connection. And then roof attachments, obviously, is the key focus of this presentation. We've got comp mounts, tile mounts, metal roof mounts as well. We're going to focus primarily on comp and tile roofs, but we do have some metal products that are available as well if you're interested in standing seam clamps. We also have the mini rail for metal roofs. So we do have a whole nother webinar on metal roofs. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up later. And we are developing more and more products for metal roofs. So stay tuned for that. So roof types real quick, there's a bunch of different roof types. Usually they're broken up into steep slope and low slope, also known as flat roofs. And then you've got different roofs like comp, tile, metal. There's also some odd ones like metal shingle and slate. And then you've got all the different flat roof types, rolled comp, EPDM, all kinds of different laid over roofs that are mechanically attached or adhered down. So we have a whole nother web series on these different roof types, but I'm just getting into comp and tile. So going back in a little bit of history, which is kind of fun, talking about this whole goop and repair era that we call, where people were just installing Elfie, gooping it up with sealant, praying to their gods it's not going to leak. I put that cover of a magazine picture there because they were showing really bad installs and not only safety and fall protection, but they were not using any kind of, tested and proven mounts. They're just using kind of strut and just gooped up bolts straight to the roof. Then you get into the early 2000s and installers were trying to do the right thing, but not having a lot of resources. So a lot of boot jacks or OD flashings, which are not a terrible product. They've been used in roofing for many years, but as a retrofit, it's kind of a hard install. The boot doesn't last as long, cracks and corrodes, rips. It's hard to cut the shingles. And there's a lot of room for error with installing. So then we get into kind of that innovation era, I'd say in the mid-early 2000s, probably around 2010 is really when a lot of innovation started coming in with railless, standard metal flashings, replacement tile flashings, all kinds of cool products coming into the market. And we have now a lot of different mounting types ourselves. So this big topic right now, we just shot a video on this, and we have a lot of new videos coming out and a whole new training program. So definitely sign up for that if you haven't yet. But the big topic right now is this non-metal flashing. Some people call it flashless. I wouldn't call it flashless just because it's not flashless. I mean, depends on the manufacturer. There's so many different types out there. In the case of our Splice Foot and our EverSeal, which is what we're focusing on now, and Nick, I don't know if you want to show it, but our EverSeal is the bottom left corner there. Our Splice Foot, which has the EverSeal built into it. It's a butyl seal and it's tacky, and it's what we call generically a flexible flashing. So I would avoid the term flashless just because that can get you in trouble in the building department, because if they require flashing and they're not actually, and you're saying flashless, then it's not going to go over well and they could technically fail you. So Nick, I think you have your background blurry. Yeah, there you go. So Nick's he has a little roof sample he'll show you of what we're talking about. He's got some cool little product samples and roof displays. So there's our Splice Foot installed there on a little demo roof. So this is a big topic right now, and we go over a lot of roofing in our new, I mentioned K2 Pro is our new certification for installers. It could be for distributors as well, making sure that you know these topics. So a lot of times we do these webinars and I'm guilty of just cramming in tons of technical information into like a 1 hour or 30-minute presentation. But we're breaking this up into a video series and there's tests and everything. And so we're focusing on roof types. So comp shingle, asphalt roofing, we talk about the different types of shingles, how to work with the shingles, the roofing terminology so that you understand what's a ridge, what's a rake, what's the, all the different slope types, the different roofing. and the different mounting systems. So again, I mentioned that this new topic of splice feet, of non-metal flashings, I call it, or self-sealing mounts is becoming very popular, but you're always going to see both of these be popular, and both of these be in demand. So we carry at K2, we're going to carry both standard metal flashings like you see there, and also our Splice Foot, and we have all kinds of new EverSeal products. So the EverSeal is the seal that we do. We do all kinds of testing on this. So I'll show you why this is important. So again, I mentioned we just shot a bunch of videos. There's a cheesy little clip that I did at our training facility. We have a big roof there where we could talk about different mounts, and I talk about the differences of standard metal flashings and non-metal flashings or self-sealing mounts, that why you would want to pick one over the other. I'm sure that's a big question, and there's arguments on both sides. So let's talk about them. So a traditional metal flashing, as you probably already know, and I've spent, over a decade talking about the importance of doing metal flashings and how they install. And you have to get them into the shingles, and they work with the natural waterproofing system of the roof. So kind of like a vent pipe flashing, you're slipping it into the shingle coursing. And in their case, they're notching it out, but there's some kind of sealing the connection between the metal and the metal flashing and the L foot or the attachment. And ours is using a what we call the EverSeal, which in that case is either a butyl or an EPDM seal gasket underneath, depends on the bracket. But we will always carry these traditional metal flashings. So there's pros and cons on both sides. There's a little bit of finesse in installing these, and a lot of times installers can install them wrong. So there's nothing wrong with this product. It's just that I often see installers, especially if they're new. If you're new to an install crew, they're usually getting thrown just to the roof crew, and your training is only going to be as good as your foreman or whoever's leading you or whoever's the head installer that's showing you what to do on the job site. Some installers are getting really good about having little training sections or little training programs that they go through with their installers and say, like, these are the important things, how to, hit a rafter, if you miss pilot holes, what to do. So we've been teaching that for a long time, and I've been teaching that myself for, like I said, over a decade. And we've got all kinds of products, and we have pro tips with our K2 Pro certification program. So we're putting this all into a training program so that your installers can use this as a resource, because this is a big mistake that I see all the time, is flashing placement. So they take the metal flashing, they slide it up into the shingles, like you see in the picture on the right there. They hit nails, and then they just install it where it lies. And they're not installing it in the correct placement. So you can see in that dotted red line where the flashing ends. And where that's a problem is when you have a seam on top of the flashing. So you can see in one of the bottom pictures there, you can see where the flashing is pulled up at the keyway or the seam, and you can see where the water can get in there. So the proper way to put this in, going back one slide, if it's a 12-inch flashing, it's got to go up into the coursing. These courses are typically about 5 inches, and you get up into the third course, and it's going to be watertight and working with the nail line. So sometimes you got to remove nails, and we do a whole video on removing nails and how to do that properly. But it is a common mistake of installing it in the wrong course line. And so there's a lot of room for error here. Or if you're in an area where it's really hot and the shingles are really baked down, a lot of times you can cause damage to the shingles, and you rip the shingles and you're having trouble getting the flashings in. So I have been on jobs in, like places like Las Vegas or Arizona, where the shingles are almost impossible to pry out because they're so baked down from the heat. So flexible flashing or non-metal flashings that install on top of the shingles and have a really good water seal underneath there becomes an attractive solution for that. So you can see here where you peel off the protective paper there because our seal is a butyl seal and it is a tacky seal for comp shingle. And the reason why that's important is because you get granules from the shingles that, I mean, you've probably seen it if you're on jobs and you're walking back and forth on the roof. Go look at the bottom of the roof or go look in the gutter and guaranteed it's like sand in there. These are all granules that come off the roof and it ends up, that stuff that is a part of the shingle. So you want to take your seal wants to grab that and seal it and adhere it and fuse down the seal. So our EverSeal does exactly that. And we've done all kinds of tests. This is just showing you exploded view of how the seal is pre-installed on there, but you don't have to install it onto the mount. It's already on there. So here's a good picture that's a little bit more modern. Some of those early pictures where you only see 2 screws in there was for going into the rafter. So this product goes into the rafter and into the decking with the same screws that are provided. So we'll show you that distinction here in a little bit. But the EverSeal is tested. So it's not just the old goop and a prayer. This seal is rated for going down on comp shingles, adhering itself, being able to withstand high heat and freeze thaw and be under pressure and be underwater actually too. So the EverSeal has been working so well that we've been developing it for our tile hook series, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we have done a lot of tests. I'm going to minimize this. Sorry, I got my window blocking my slides. Sorry, one sec. There we go. Okay, so we do the TSA 100A, which is a wind-driven rain test, the UL 441 rain test. We also do submergent tests. So if you're wondering what that messy picture is, the 2 at the bottom there with the comp shingles, and it looks like sealant all over a bracket, that's basically an apparatus that's sealed to the roof, and you can put in water. So it's in standing water and it's completely submerged underneath. So we do our own in-house submersion tests. And the reason why you see some dye in there is because we dye the water and then we put paper underneath so that you can directly see if there is any water intrusion. And we don't use any sealant on the mounts. We just install it. We install it on uneven surfaces. We try to make a worst case scenario. And then also the third party testing, which is, you know, things like TSA 100A or UL 441. So these pass with flying colors for both comp and tile mounts. So installing this is very easy. I'll go through this real quick. This is an installer for the first time putting into the decking. And you can see he's not over tightening it. There's self-sealing, so there's no pilot hole necessary. And if you look closely, he's got a string line snapped across. And basically this ensures that you get a straight line for your rail. So you corner out your array. That's standard. Then you snap lines where you're going to put your mounts, where your rails go for your clamping zone on your modules, right? Because every module has a clamping zone so that you can get the strength of the clamps on the right side of the frame and the area. Everybody knows those quarter points when you're doing the installs, and we do a whole series on talking about that. But the Splice Foot has a lot of good features. So I mentioned that some of these pictures are from the earlier release. So it used to have only 2 holes, but now it's got 6 holes. And I'll explain the difference of those holes in a minute here. But this is showing you the attachment options. So if you're wondering why there's 2 slots, it's because it can be used as a splice. So it's totally optional, but if you're doing 1 rail across the Splice Foot, you only use 1 T-bolt, which is included. So you get a box of 20 mounts. So you get a box of 20 T-bolt sets, and you're going to get 40 screws. And the screws are self-sealing, and they're the same screws that are going to go into the rafter, which you'd use 2 or 4 into the corners into the decking. So if you're doing decking, you're going to want to order additional screws. And if you're doing splicing with the foot, like you see there, you're going to also want to order additional T-bolts. But do keep in mind that per unit, 1 mount, which there's 20 to a box, the seal is going to be adhered on it. So you don't have to worry about that. And you don't need sealant. Screws are going to be 2 for going into the rafter. So again, order additional screws. If you know, every installer should order additional screws anyways, just to have some extra. You drop them, they fall in the gutter, or you might misplace them, or maybe you break a few. There's ways to solve that problem if you go into our manual. Some installers will over tighten and snap them So we're not going to hide the fact that it's a self-tapping screw. Installers get a little too gun happy and will snap them. So you want to seal that up and use one of the different holes. So ordering additional screws helps. And then again, if you're using it as a splice, then use 2 T-bolts and you'll order additional T-bolts. But there is 1 T-bolt set per mount. Nick, I think you had a question or you wanted to jump in. Go for it if you want to keep on this slide and talk a little more.
Thank you, Johan. One thing I wanted to mention is that Johan was bringing up that you are going to need additional screws if you want to do the deck mounting on the 4 outside points of the mount. If you do plan ahead and use our base software, it calculates how many fasteners you're going to need to deploy to the job site. But it's always safe to just bring 100 pack of screws and have them extra in the truck when you need them. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's the deck screw option there. There's obviously, we can't express this enough. 2 into the rafter goes 2 in the middle. 4 into the decking is going to be the 4 corners. You're never going to use all 6 holes. So just keep that in mind. And then if you notice there on the right is the X, which is a lower profile one. On the left is the XL, which has that built-in shelf. So that goes towards the ridge of the roof. And what that does is acts as a shelf. So you can lay that down and it puts it right in position for putting in the T-bolt. So here's a little animation that shows that whole process of it going in as a regular mount and as a splice. So that's peeling the paper, going down. These are going 2 into the rafter, which we recommend going in first. Then there's the T-bolt. And then it's going to show you the animation of it going in as a splice. So 2 T-bolts when it's done as a splice. And again, that's totally optional. You don't have to use it as a splice. We still have our standard rail connector. These can be intermixed, but if you run out of rail connectors and you have extra feet, by all means, why not just put in a splice foot and you don't have to go running back to the shop to go get additional splice. Or vice versa, if you want to just use the rail connect, or if you're using the splice as a splice, splice foot as a splice, then if you run out of those and you have rail connectors on the truck, then go for it. So I know we're getting quick on time here. I want to give Nick some time to go over the base tool. The tile section, I want to just quickly go over. We do have that program we're working on for doing K2 Pro certifications, talking about roofing, talking about site visits, what to look for on a tile roof, standard tile mounting, which we have a series of tile hooks. So we have our S3S hook, we have our flat tile hook, which these are a little bit more high performing, really robust. So if you're in like Colorado, if you have tile roofs in areas that have snow, these might be your solution. 3S is really adjustable. It has all these different heights. It has a return on it, uses an L foot, tons of adjustability. The flat tile hook is actually shorter, stout. It's thicker, it has a little bit of a ramp up so that it doesn't take so much deflection. Whereas most tile roofs are in areas with no snow load and they don't need such big, beefy, huge adjustable hooks. So we have our standard, more cost competitive hooks like for Southern California, Arizona. So we have the universal tile hook, 9-inch base. We have a 5.5 base that's adjustable. So it has 2 parts and you can move it around. And then we have the flat tile hook X, which is a little longer. It gets you a little bit higher off the roof. So you can order sample kits of these. And we go over different types of tile roof systems in our training program. And we did do a tile roof webinar talking about this. But the big part of this that we're talking about is the EverSeal. So because that seal is working out so well, we've put this onto all of our tile hooks. So this is brand new. So on tile roofs, a lot of installers have to seal underneath the tile. So the underlayment, that's why I bring up the tile roofing stuff in our K2 Pro certification training program, because we talk about different tile roofs. Is essentially you're working as a roofer and you need to understand how the tile roofs work. And it's different in different regions. So when you pull out the tile, the underlayment is kind of the heart of the tile roof. And if you look at the right there, sealing it up, they're either just putting sealant over the bolts and sealing it up as best they can, or they're doing things like 3-coursing or, lapping into the paper with metal flashings. It's time consuming. It's not always regulated in the sense that they're not always requiring or seeing what you're supposed to do as far as code or best practice. So it really depends regionally what they're requiring. And most installers are trying to just, some will argue that just putting sealant over the bolts and over the base is fine, and then they put tiles over it. But we're including the EverSeal onto our tile hook so that you can just peel off the paper, stick it down. Obviously you want to drill a pilot hole in this case because there's 2 bigger screws, whereas a splice doesn't need a pilot hole. So I usually just take a standard hook, measure where you want it out, find your rafter, install it, and then put in your mount, put it down with the butyl built into it, the EverSeal, and then you don't need additional sealant going around it. So it's very clean, very easy, and it saves a lot of time. So, and it does install very easily where you can cover up pilot holes if you're in that zone there and you're using like one of the universal hooks that has a bigger base. So definitely check this out. It's really, really nice to have that built-in waterproofing. And if you don't want that and you have a method of doing that, we do have standard hooks with no butyl, but we are including the EverSeal option, and there's different part numbers. I believe we have it in here now. So the part numbers are the same for the distributor folks on here. The part numbers stay the same for the hooks, but if there's a -B, that it stands for the butyl. So it's like tile hooks with butyl. So if you see that B at the end, that's what that means. And another new product that we have, and I'll wrap up here, is the EverFlash tile replacement flashing. So we call them TRFs. They are replacement flashings that work with flat tile, W tile, and S tile. And these work beautifully with the tile hooks. So if you've ever used tile hooks in the past, and flashings, replacement flashings, Nick and I have been very involved with the development of these products in the past. We were there when the very first ones were designed in the industry at our previous company. And some of the problems we've heard and complaints from the field is if you're interlocked in this tiles come with a side channel lock that sometimes they call it a cap and a pan, and they have these channel locks where they interlock on the sides. So a lot of these replacement tile flashings have one of those pans that interlock on the side, and then they lap over on the right. And the problem with that is when they lap over and it's an uneven roof, you get this chattering on the roof, and the metal is just banging on that corner, and you can see it's lipped up, and then you got to cut it and put it in and bend it and manipulate it. So we heard those complaints, saw those complaints, and we built it into our product to where you have securement tabs. So we don't have that interlock on the sides. We made it so it's a bigger flashing and it laps over on both sides. And if this is too much detail, please ask questions, because this is the feature, especially if you're on the distribution side. You probably have flashings already and you're like, maybe flashing's a flashing, but this is a really, really well thought out product, and it's going to help out your installers. Or if you're an install crew, definitely order or sample this and try it out, because it's really, really well designed. And there's a lot of features in this that makes headaches go away. So it laps over on both sides, meaning you don't have to pry up that bottom level of tiles to interlock it. You just prop it up on the top, slip it in. It's got a built-in tab to push back on the S tile and the W tile for the hook to come out in the valley. On the flat tile, you just snip 2 lines and push it back to where the hook goes on in, because it's going to go somewhere in that face. Whereas with W and S tiles, it's always going to be in the valley there. So we put in tabs there. You don't even have to have tools. You can push it back for the hook pass through. And then you have the securement tabs on the side where you fold it under the tile, and you can kind of mold the whole malleable flashing to sit nice and pretty and not have that chattering effect that we've talked about. So definitely order a sample of this. All the details are on our website. We have videos of the install. This product's available now. It's a really well thought out product and really well designed. And we do have a little special promo going on right now through June. Where if you haven't used this product before, then, and you want to order our tile hooks, you can order our tile hooks. And when you do that with the distributor, just check to see that they're participating in this. We will throw in flashings on one job for free so you can try it out. So I take advantage of this right now. If you can order tile hooks, talk to your distributor, talk to our inside sales team, and see if you can get that promotion in time, because it's only a limited thing and it's only happening right now. So definitely check that out, try out those products. And without further ado, I'll answer questions at the end. I'll go through them as Nick's going to go through the base design tool, which incorporates ASCE 716 requirements, which is huge. We've built that into our engineering. It's built into the engineering of our base tool. And it also talks, lets you swap out mounts so that you can get the best bang for your buck and see which product's going to work out better in your area. So I'll give it up to Nick here, and he can take over the screen and show you how this base design tool works. And this is going to be helpful for you on the distribution side too, where you can get a BOM at the end, and we'll check that as well to make sure, if you're doing your first job, to see if it's all correct and there's no things to call out there that you might be missing. So Nick, you want to take over there? You can take over the screen. Cool.
Johan, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for going over the products. We are excited to continue to pour value into your guys' installs out there, or everybody's installs out there. Our number one goal here is with K2 is to build the products that you want to use. So whether it's our digital platform, or whether it's our hardware that we have, or even the accessories and the training, it all comes down to the installation crews and what you guys choose to use. And we hope you continue to choose to work with us. Let's get into our base design tool today. So I worked with some of the team members in our technical sales team and some of the product development team for our digital tools here at K2. And what we've done over the years is we've really taken a lot of voice of customer over how to find products and how to design systems in our base tool. If you're new to our base tool, it's very simple to get here. I'm on the normal K2 website. Make sure that you're on the K2 US site. Just make sure you've got the United States symbol over there, and you can see US on the side over on the right hand side over here. We are an international racking company, like Johan explained in the beginning. So just make sure that you're on the North American United States one website. If you want to get into base, there's two ways of going about it. You can either click right at the top there where it says K2 base, or if you want to go into service, base online design tool, both directions will take you there. If you go to the base online design tool, take you to the splash page for base, which has some interactive videos where you can just, a quick cheat sheet, little background on the tool. We hover over the APIs that we have with other manufacturers, and Gallroder, who's on our development team, some videos with them as well. For the sake of time, I'm going to go right to our tool just by clicking up here at the top. But we do have some features that go across our website and across the design tool. So I already have a login, so it'll recognize me immediately. Oh, whoops, looks like I already have a page open. So let me close that one real quick and just refresh. So with that said, when you click on that link, it'll take you to the main splash page, or the main interface page, which is this dashboard right here. So the dashboard shows you a current list of all the projects you're working on, helps you organize and plan your projects. I do a lot of testing with the tool, so you'll see I have a ton of projects in here, way more in progress than completed. But it does help you and give you an advantage at giving you a top-down look at how many projects your team is working on. Let's focus on the left-hand side of the actual tool itself. Some of the new advancements that we've made is we've brought autosave to your browser, so you don't have to constantly click save on a project. We have always had downloadable files, so you can actually share files across your team. Like if Johan starts a project and needs a little support in finishing it, he can send it to me and I can take off right where he left it. And we can put modules on the roof, or we can change the roof type, or whatever we want. I can send it back to him completed, or for any kind of amendments that he wants. We also have a undo redo, so those are new with the tool. And some of the things that are on our website, which is our instant chat button, goes directly to our sales team. If you have any questions about the tool, or you just need general support, you can just click here for chat, and you can use your phone iMessage on your computer or WhatsApp on your computer, and you can instant chat with our tech sales team. They'll be able to give you some quick tips and tricks on base, and of course, the tutorial videos that you have here on the left-hand side. To get started on a project, very simple to do. You can either use the small new project button, or you can use the big new project button. I'm going to go with the big new project button for the sake of this video. The base design tool actually utilizes Google Maps. So we know that everywhere that we install solar is a actual physical location and probably does have an address. If you don't have the address of the property, that's okay. You can actually just use the zip code so you can get some of the weather conditions of that area. We're going to be installing in tile country today. So we're going to install in Henderson, Nevada today. So a little bit northwest of Las Vegas. I happen to have a homeowner here that I'm kind of talking as the installer here, or the designer of the installer, but I have the homeowner here, probably has a high power bill out there, lots of sunshine, have a pool. So they'd like to reduce their power bill with solar. So they'd like to get an array installed from our company. Your company. So we're going to call this the Tile House in Henderson. NV. The only thing you need from this part of the interface is the actual address itself. And like I said, you can have the physical address or you can just have the zip code, but we do require that you put a project name in there. Installation date here on the calendar, if you want to make sure we wrap this up before the end of June. This is opt-in, you don't have to select this. Design method as ASCE 716. You can toggle to any of the codes that you would like to do. 716 is kind of the more standard adopted across the North America right now, so we'll go ahead and use that one. I am the author of this particular file. Any information you want to put in here, let's just say this is the Wilson home, or any information you want to put in there, you know, their phone number, 555, anything that you'd like to put in their email addresses, if you want to. It'll all show up in your dashboard and you can filter it from there. But all of that is opt-in. Just the standard that you want to have and the project name are the only thing that you have to put in there. So let's continue on here. I'm going to hit add. It's going to start auto-saving the project, and it's going to ask me some information about the project. Specifically, the first module that we go through is just letting me know that there's not too high of an elevation there in that particular area. So you'll notice that we started a project. It'll go to loads, and then the other modules here that are not, or other project coordinators here that are not illuminated yet are roof, design, results, and summary. So the tool will not lead you astray all the way to the back of the tool where you can't get out or things like that. It'll only ask you information as it proceeds to go along into your project. So the first one that we're going to put in was our project, our name, and where it was. Now we're going to answer some general information about the property. It's using the most recent weather information to see if there's any winds, what the ultimate wind speeds are in that area, and what the snow load is. That particular area doesn't have too much snow load. Probably it looks like it has 0, but it's going to ask us what kind of category and wind exposure is this. It's definitely a suburban dwelling. It was in the middle of a bunch of other houses. So let's go ahead and select B. From continuing on, now we get access to a little bit more information of the building itself. What type of building, what type of roof are we going to install on today with roof? Are we going to install on a hipped roof? Are we going to install on a gabled roof? Is it a flat roof? We're going to go ahead and select gabled, and it's going to say, what is the general shape of the roof that we want to draw on? I would like to draw on this wide, broad rectangle right here of the roof. And we're going to select tile. This is tile country, so this is mostly going to be tile. We do have the options of comp shingle, trapezoidal, standing seam, corrugated is coming soon, and of course flat roofs that are usually gravel, concrete, or they can be like a rolled asphalt material. Any characteristics you'd like to put about the roof, you can put here. Let's just say it's roof 1, maybe backyard, just to be very specific with our team where we're going to install this. Hit add, and then you'll notice from here, my cursor will turn into a crosshair, and it'll give us the option to drag and get an inline measurement of the actual roof. I'm actually gonna see if we can get the array as close to that air conditioner, that chimney right there as we possibly can. So I'm gonna go a little bit on the inside of this little hip here, to the edge of the building, about 42 feet. And this is all just general measurements based upon Google Maps and the proximity that we can get in there. From that stage, I can actually reposition this rectangle or make it larger if I'd like to. Let's say if I'd like to go a little bit further to that eave and just get as much roof zone area as I possibly can on this property, we can do that. From here, we can answer any specific questions about the rafter spacing. Let's say, for instance, we're dealing with a 60, maybe we're dealing with a custom home with 16 on center. This is going to be 24 inches on center, pretty common in this area. For the sake of time, let's keep driving and click continue here. And then after that, it's going to ask me really quick here, any more specific information about the property here. Is there any added snow load? There is not. So has anything changed? Nothing has changed. Let's keep driving. Let's talk about obstructions. We know that that chimney there is definitely going to be an obstruction. So let's go ahead and classify it, and we can mark it out on our tool right now. I'm going to say, yes, there's an obstruction. It's a rectangle or a square. We can add it right now. It'll automatically categorize it as obstruction number 1. And then we're going to click, and you'll see that it turned into a crosshair again. We're going to click in this general area. And let's say just about 5 foot by 5 foot, or maybe 4.5 feet. That could be that obstruction right there, that chimney. We can even narrow that in a little bit further, and we can reposition it if we want to. If there's any other information you want to put in here, like if you want to classify the height of it, if you know the height of it, you can. I'm not going to be placing any modules on that northwest side. So we just want to make sure we classify it on the tool so we can get modules close to it and or around it. We're going to continue on here. As we go to design, we can actually select our modules. So from there, any remarks about the obstruction, we can put here. We can say it's the chimney. We'll just classify it as obstruction number 1 for now. As we continue on, we'll get to our module menu right here. Oh, sorry, I double clicked there. I apologize for that. This is our vast library of modules we have. We have hundreds and hundreds of modules in here. If you need to select for them, we get this from an international database. It actually saves the most recent ones that you've used as well. The top 3 that you use the most are right here at the top. Since I do use these 3 a lot, I'm going to go ahead and click on Aptos. Oh, and if you do want to, if you would like to, this is a newer feature that we just added. If you'd like to only see the UL 2703 modules, we can get you a menu of all of those. So if you just want to just shrink that international list down to a UL 2703 list, you can do that just by checking that box. If you have a specific module that you'd like to install, like a custom module, you can also click user defined, and you can go ahead and input the data for that. Since we do have that library of modules, it takes all of the information and data from those cut sheets and from those specifications of those modules, and it places it into this table right here. We know the length, the width, we know the frame height, we know the weight of the module. We also know the power output. So everything we need to start drawing onto the roof here with modules, we can start right now. We're designing on a tile roof today. Like we said, we're in tile country today. So we're going to be installing Crossrail, the mighty 44 rail that Johan was talking about in the beginning. It's the one that was behind me in the video. We're going to select module array is what we'd like to actually design in this area right here. This is a parallel or flush attach. So it's going to be following the angle of the roof. And we're going to go ahead and hit portrait. I'm going to hit add, and this will give us the ability to draw, again, a layer of modules across the entire roof. And since we drew in that obstruction over there, it's going to let us know where we can actually fit them. I am very cognizant of this little valley right here. So I'm going to encroach on that as much as I can, and then just drag across. And this will be the entire segment where we're able to actually land modules within reason of the dimensions that we have fed to the tool. From here, actually, I can take this module array and I can actually micro it down just a little bit further, and I can even get more modules in there, I think. I think if I swing it to the east side just a little bit, right outside of that obstruction, I'd be able to get right up to that chimney. Now, judging based upon what your jurisdictions do allow on how far you can encroach on a thing like a chimney or anything like that, I would definitely follow those rules in your territories. The tool's only going to allow you to place modules within the roof segment that you've classified. So anything that you've been able to classify here, it'll allow you to do. We've been able to land 22 modules at 8.5 kW here on this homeowner's roof. And I wonder if we can get just a little bit more in there if we go landscape at the top. We might have room to do so. And with that said, we do have the feature of doing that on this tool. We have the module orientation from this tab. We can do landscape, or we can do a custom style called portscape, portrait and landscape together. Let's go ahead and just extend this module array field up to the maximum to the ridge. And let's hit portscape and see if it's possible. We're going to select the top row or the bottom row. Let's see what's possible. Look at that. We were able to fit a ton of solar on this client's house. We were able to fit 9.7. Now, in many cases, in some jurisdictions, this might be maxing out the roof. So you're going to have to definitely follow the building code of where you install, but the tool has the flexibility to give you options in your proposal to your actual client on what is possible with how much square footage they have on the roof. From here, I'm going to select that we do want to use our Yeti clamps, our hidden end clamps that Johan was talking about. And for the rest of the mid clamps, we'd like to select black because we've got really nice black frame Aptos modules, and we're going to keep driving ahead with this design. Click and continue. It's analyzing everything that's on the roof, counting up all the total modules, and then we should be able to get to our results where we can select our products. So we talked about butyl seal hooks earlier today. I have one of the 9-inch hooks with me on the webinar as well. We can select from a wide variety of our different tile options here, because in the beginning of the tool, we classified the roof as tile roof. So what that does is it only brings the tile options to the results tab. So you don't have to navigate through all of the roof attachments that we offer if you classify what roof you're actually going to install on. Very helpful, trying to make it as speedy as possible for you. I'm going to wrap it up here in just a minute here so we can have a QA at the end. I really prefer using the 9-inch based hook, even if it's a flat tile roof with the butyl, because that gives me the adjustability on finding those rafters. That's what those lines are that are perpendicular on the grid in front of you and the diagram in front of you. I like the flexibility of being able to land on that rafter with the different slots of this hook. So I'm going to go with the 9-inch. I think that's probably one of the most popular hooks in the market, of course, with the butyl. This particular client did want those tile replacement flashings. This was a flat tile hook. So let me go ahead and get that in there. So we're going to, we're going to be using flat tile replacement. Sorry, jumped ahead of myself there. We're going to be using the 9-inch base. We're going to be using our Crossrail 44. And from this interface, we'll be able to select more of the accessories. So like the wire management clips, like the TC clip for holding in the cables into the rail, the end caps to keep out some of the critters. We're going to be installing a power optimizer or a microinverter on this. So we're going to need a MLPE kit. That's our hardware kit that we install onto the rail. So it can actually accept microinverters or power optimizers, whichever one you choose to use. Our equipment plays nice with all of them. End caps, we're going to go with those Omega clips and the TC wire management clip as well. We also do have the old, we brought back the sleeves where you can put those on to conceal the shiny aluminum at the end. We're going to go ahead and click continue. It's taken a calculation of everything we're going to need. Last continue here will bring us to the summary. And here's your fully outfitted bill of materials ready to be deployed out to your distributor for pickup. Or if you want to just pick it out of your shop, you can. If you hover over all of our products and click on them, you can see images to make sure that you know that you have these parts, the towel replacements, our mid clamps, our mighty Crossrail 44. Everybody's been loving that. Wire management clips, Yeti clamps. Everything on this system is single tool for install. And of course, we're finished. I think we're good for a Q&A. If you need to get a report from this, you can click generate report. It'll have automatically checked your assembly plan, project data. This is not a ballasted system, so I don't check that. Thinks we need to get that repaired. But everything is in here in your engineering report, your plan. Also, we also do have other API bridges as well. So if you wanted to send this off to get any kind of structural plan, if you have an account with Green Lancer, you can send this BOM, this project, out to them, and they will give you a price on stamping your plans for you if your AHJ that you're, or building department that you're dealing with does require any kind of stamped plans, Green Lancer can also do electrical design for you as well. So they have a lot of features in there. You don't have to do anything outside of having a Green Lancer account and negotiating your pricing with them on your account. As far as the project goes, you just click login, you send it over to them. They know everything about the project. They know that it's the tile house in Henderson, Nevada, from you as an installer, and they'll get you a price on building permits for that jurisdiction. If you're fond of using AutoCAD for your team, and you guys like doing a lot of your submittals in AutoCAD, you can take this exact plan set right here, this line drawing right here, and you can actually download a DWG file to just put right over top of your house drawing in AutoCAD. That's in our summary as well. So you have DFX and DWG for all your digital workstations. And last but not least, inverter designers. We do have API bridges with Fronius, GoodWe, Costal, SMA, and of course Solar Edge, which makes it very simple for you to get a BOM of what equipment you will need for that project. If you're going to be installing batteries, whatnot, just go ahead and click on those, and we will be hosting separate webinars with all 5 of these manufacturers, so you can see how those bridges work. And with that said, we're all set. I think we did everything we needed here for the project.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, that was awesome. So you guys can see how beneficial this can be. So there's a lot of stuff built into this. Definitely take a tutorial, talk to a sales rep. Again, on the website, if you go under find a K2 rep, Nick, I don't know if you want, Nick's showing it right there. If you go to that find your sales rep, it will list out all our sales reps based on region. And you can email them, you can call them and say, hey, I want to get familiar with this base design tool. Our inside sales team deals with the base tool every day. So they can help you run through it and talk to you about how to use it, and then how to select the right product, and then finding out where it's in stock. So a couple good questions came in that has to do with this design tool.
Yes.
Somebody asked what, if the 3S hook is stronger than like our old single hook. And just so you know, I think it was Fernando who asked this. If you're in Mexico, the single hook is still available. In the US, we actually stopped selling it just because most are using our standard universal hooks or our 3S hook. So the single hook kind of got just naturally is not being used in the US as much. But if you're in Mexico, it's still available. I know it's still popular, but the 3S is probably, so those are aluminum hooks, and then our universal hooks are steel, and they're welded. So you want to see in the base tool which one will have the better spans based on your region, because we can't just say, yes, this one's going to be stronger. I mean, if you're comparing the 3S to the like flat tile hook, for sure the 3S is going to be stronger. And I'm kind of answering multiple questions in one right now, one answer. Someone asked if tile hooks are wobbly, which is a great term. So yeah, if you're doing a standoff, that's going to be the most strong mount possible. But on a tile roof, you got to get out, underneath the hooks, and maybe you don't want to penetrate through the tile, or you want to use a replacement flashing. We have the combo of tile hooks with our replacement flashings. We have other products coming onto the market later that are more on the standoff side eventually, but tile hooks do have deflection. So you have the load. Nick, I don't know if you have a hook near you, but you have the anchor in one point where the penetrations are. So Nick's hooking is holding it in place. And then you have the load there. So you have a moment on the arm. So yeah, I wouldn't say they're wobbly, because once you put on the rail and then you attach the modules, it creates a whole solid piece. So yeah, if you put your foot on one of them and push down, it's going to deflect. But once you put in a rail and you have the right spans, and then you put modules, it makes the whole system more robust. But different hooks have different strengths. So that's why we have 2 flat tile hooks. We have the X and we have the standard. And the standard is just the flat tile hook. That one's more like Colorado area, where if you've got, I mean, tile roofs are coming into Colorado a lot now. And if
Yeah.
you're using those type of, if you're in Colorado, the flat tile hook is stronger, it's beefier. And then you have the flat tile hook X, which is a little longer and not as thick. And you can use that more in like Arizona or Southern California. So definitely go through the tool and check them out and see which ones are going to be best for you. So you can't answer a question about spans straight across the board because it depends on where you are. Do you have snow? Do you have high wind loads? And that's where this tool comes into play. Like if you're doing deck attach with Splice Foot, then you want to keep in mind that maybe your area is not good for that, or maybe it is. Or maybe deck attach is more something as an alternative to where if you have transitioning rafters, sometimes you get rafters that are going horizontal and not vertically, going east and west instead of north south. So you want to make sure, if you have to install the Splice Foot at the deck, then you can. And on that note, there was another question that came in that was really good that asked, why not put in all 6 screws? It'll be stronger. Actually, so we do tests for pull out and shear, and we did test 6 screws and 4 was just as strong. So to answer that question, whoever asked it in the chat was a good question. 4 screws is just as strong as 6 screws. So there was no need to put in the 6. And in fact, as I mentioned, if you do snap off the head on one, because they're stainless steel screws, you're going in with an impact, there's a sweet spot of when you install it, the sealing washer seats properly. If you blast it over that, you're going to snap it. It's just what happens. And if you put metal screws into any kind of self-tapping situation, you've probably snapped the head off. Like other racking systems have self-tapping screws for their splice. Guaranteed you'd probably snap the head off of one. It's the same thing with the Splice Foot screws. You can snap it off. And Nick's pulling up the manual right now, which is great. And there is a section that talks about if you snap the head off, then you can use those other attachment points to put in more screws into those unused holes. So there's a lot of good details in this manual, and just follow that. Make sure you're going through the base design to make sure you're putting in the right amount of mounts in that design, and base will help you with that. Someone also asked, why not, or what's the difference between the butyl, or in our case, the EverSeal, than some sealant at Home Depot? That's a great question. And if you get a generic seal at Home Depot, it might not last as long as the roof. It might not be rated to be in that application. So the reason why it's better, I showed you guys in there that it has been tested at TSA 100A, which is a wind-driven rain test. It has been tested to UL 441, and it's also been tested as a submersion test in the application that is designed for. So when you buy sealant at a store, it's going to say, Nick's pulling up the engineering report actually of our test and pull out, and we test for the weakest plywood OSB, I think 7/16 or something. But anyways, going back to the sealant, if you're going to be buying sealant at a store, it might say it's rated for this and that, but it's not being tested in the actual application of what it's being used for. So we've actually put this through accelerated heat tests with a mount on shingles installed in the exact situation that you're going to be doing it in. So it's much more thorough testing, basically, to answer your question there about what's the difference between EverSeal and a sealant from Home Depot. So specific testing for the actual application. And we're testing it to last 25, 30 years. Go ahead, Nick.
Absolutely. And this is the TS 100, TAS 100. This is to meet conditions in one of the most brutal areas possible, which is Miami-Dade County. The state of Florida is surrounded by water except for the north. So it has the Gulf to deal with, and it has the Atlantic Ocean to deal with.
Right.
So and down in the Caribbean as well. So the Splice Foot's fully accepted in that territory. So exciting news about that product. And I did want to touch one more time on the tile hook question. The one thing that we do have been doing in the industry for a long time is staggering the mounts, and that is why you get a stronger pull out, and as a system it works together, because we're taking some of the mounts and they're actually networked and installed closer to each other at the exposure edges. Towards the interior of the array, there's a lot less uplift, So we're able to get some of those 6-foot spans and execute those a lot easier.
Yeah, totally. Well said. Yes. And you can choose between staggering and not, right, on here?
It's a little bit deeper in the features, but yes, we can do that. We normally choose to go staggered because you'll actually use the accurate amount of roof attachments. So some cases, if you don't stagger, you'll end up overloading the rafters with too many penetrations. So as you can see here, some of these rafters, since we're staggering, we're omitting or deleting amount there, we're deleting amount here, so we're not overloading that rafter.
Okay. Yeah, Fernando's bringing up some good points. He's messed around with base, and he said, he compared the different hooks, and he saw where one hook might give you more mounts and one might give you less mounts. So it's a good way to kind of see you can reduce your cost by using a different product in your region and playing with this tool.
We can toggle between them. It looks like the 3S tile hook didn't remove any, but I can go back and forth between, let's just say that we go back and forth between the standard. So look, it added more right there. If I go to summary real quick, let's take a quick count and remember that number in our head. So it says 48 for this roof. I'm going to go back to results. I'm going to go to the 3S, which is our fully aluminum adjustable tile hook. And let's go, remember that number 48. So now it only reduced 2. So yes, tile hooks and working on a tile roof is fatiguing. If I can omit doing 2 tile hooks, I would. So it really depends on which of our value engineered products you wish to install. We have installers who are using the adjustable tile hook kind of religiously because they like that it is height adjustable, and they're not too fond of stainless steel hooks. The one thing I think Johan mentioned is that the market has spoken. People want options. So we have a very heavy engineered tile hook, and then we have a little bit of a mid-duty tile hook. So, but in correspondence with this roof, it looks like we only omitted 2 different 2 roof attachments. So it does always depend on your layout of what you've designed.
Cool. We had some questions about product availability. If you're wondering about ordering and if it's in stock and lead times, definitely check with your sales rep. It depends on the products. All the products that we showed on the screen are available for order. So definitely, if you're on the distribution side, look at your get the newest price sheet from your sales rep, see what the lead times are. Some are faster than others. Products have been running out the door, but we are pretty stocked up on the tile products. So Splice Foot has been going quickly. So that has been our #1 roof attachment lately. So if you don't have that in stock, I would get in touch with their sales rep. But that's pretty much it. It looks like we answered most of the questions typing in, and we also went over it live. The slides are going to be available. This is recorded as well, and we're doing a lot more presentations like this, live and recorded, and we're doing a whole, as I mentioned, K2 Pro certification program. If you're interested in that and you want more info, let us know. I'm running that program with Dakota's help, so let us know if you have questions on it, and we will help you out. And there's a lot of technical info that's not posted yet and it's being worked on, but we can do live presentations with your crews if you want to customize a training for a specific product for your team. So give us a holler, let us know what you thought, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely, Johan. Thank you for having me. Great seeing you, bro. Everybody, thanks for carving it. Yeah, thanks for carving out time for us today. Be safe out there. We'll see you in the future. We'll see you at the shows.
Have a good day. Bye.